it's one of those things that Google. Okay, we're on. So let's wait for a couple of minutes and then we start. I'm gonna put this online.
Find a way out. I never thought I'd hear my heartbeat so loud. I can't believe there's something left in my chest anymore. But goddamn, you got me in love again. I can't believe I finally found someone. I'll sink my teeth in disbelief, 'cause you're the one that I want. I can't believe there's something left inside my chest anymore. But goddamn, you got me in love again. You got me in love again. You got me in love again. You got me in love again and again and again and again and again.
Thank you, the DJ. Okay, so thank you for joining us to our second last day of Who Cares. I don't know who's gonna do the household today. Nico or Thomas?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
gladly do it.
Thank you.
So hi, everyone who's joining on YouTube, here on Zoom with us. My name's Tita, and I just have a few rules of engagement. So please keep your microphone on mute. If you have a question, send it to me in the chat, and I will keep track of them throughout. And this event also has subtitles, okay? So if you go to the bottom of your screen and you hit CC live transcript, you'll be able to have some closed captioning. Okay, I will pass it off back to Roberta.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to do a land acknowledgement, and before we introduce our guest. So I'm joining you from Toronto. This area is the ancestral and traditional territory of the Mississauga, South the Credit River, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, were the original custodians of the land on which we stand and create. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon, One Spoon Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwa and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Toronto is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, Métis community, and other indigenous people from across the Turtle Island. And although we meet today on a virtual platform, it remains important to acknowledge that this land, which we call home, virtually sustains us. And we have to be mindful to thank this land and thank our ancestors for the opportunity to work in the community and on this territory today. So I'm going to introduce myself. I feel like I kind of bore myself by introducing myself, but my name is Roberta Buiani, and I am faculty both at the University of Toronto and at York University. It's not to brag about it, but it's because this series of events was not possible without actually having one foot in two institutions. Actually, I have a third foot because I am also part of the Fields Institute, which is another institution that has contributed to this series. So I'm also the artistic director of the Outside Salon, which is a collective committed to fostering collaborations between the arts and the technoscience, which is also based at the Fields Institute for Research in Mathematical Sciences. I'm going to pass the baton to Elena, who is going to introduce herself and the series.
Hi, everyone. I am Elena Basile. I'm the co-organizer of the speaker series, Who Cares? I also have a foot in two institutions, luckily not three, not yet at least. So I teach at the University of Toronto in the Sexual Diversity Studies program, and at York University at two campuses, at Glendon and in the main campus. And I teach in the English department there, the Masters in Translation Studies program, and the School of Gender and Sexuality and Women's Studies at Glendon College. Together with Roberta, and then with the help of a very strong team of graduate and undergraduate students, some of whom are here tonight, Tita Christakis and Kirtsakas and Thomas Worthington, who are helping us out tonight. We created the speaker series, Who Cares? Sustaining Relations of Health Beyond the Time of Crisis. And we've had an incredible array of people, and this is going to be a wonderful, at least last virtual event, not the last event. And the idea behind it all was to foster transdisciplinary conversations between doctors, writers, artists, and researchers on contemporary biopolitics of care, and to address, and I hope that we manage to get people thinking about the urgent need to move towards more respectful, creative, and inclusive social practices of care in the wake of the systemic cracks that have been made obvious by the pandemic. Before we start, I just wanted to add a word of thanks to our funders and supporters. This series spans 3 institutions, as Roberta already anticipated: York University, the University of Toronto, and the Fields Institute. And we would like to thank the generous support of the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada, or SSHRC, that in fact, thanks to which we can be here today, and also New College gave great monetary support at the University of Toronto. The Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies at York University also contributed in substantial ways. We also want to acknowledge the contributions of the Centre for Feminist Research, the Sensorium Centre for Digital Arts and Technology, the Canadian Language Museum, the Departments of English and the School of Gender and Women's Studies at York University, and the DGIB Library and the Institute for the History of Philosophy and Philosophy of Science and Technology at the University of Toronto. So when you see so many different departments and institutions contributing, it means that we have managed to garner some interest, and also to it was thanks to kind of really a collective effort that we managed to put this all together. And of course, the Field Institute for Research in the Mathematical Science has also been incredibly generous with their support. I'm going to leave it to Roberta to introduce our guest for this evening, Karolina, who will also have a virtual in-person event happening tomorrow at the Ivy Library. But I'll leave it to Roberta to explain in greater detail and do a more substantial introduction.
Thank you, Elena. So I'm actually quite thrilled to introduce Karolina. Karolina Żyniewicz, who is joining us from Berlin. So I have known Karolina for a number of years, and I had the very good fortune to see many of her works unfold. I think it's been like 5 years or something. Anyway, so and this new body of work fits really perfectly this series, and so I'm so glad that she emailed me early on, and she said, "Oh, I have this project." I'm like, "This is perfect for our event. Why don't you try and do this in Toronto?" And I must say that she usually does it in person, but we are trying this experiment to do a in-person virtual thing. But I invited her to introduce her art and to also introduce this body of work, and she will give us some instructions on how to do this and how to interact with her at a distance. And so this work, just a few words about this work. This work is very simple. It has a very simple premise. It focuses on the mask, which is a symbol of the pandemic, as it went from a garment that was considered ineffective against the virus to a very truthful symbol of the pandemic, and a lifesaver for many people, because it provided a very effective protection for those who tried to escape the virus, and also to the immunocompromised. So as Karolina describes it, pictures of people wearing masks will be historical documents of this period. And with time, these pictures with people under mask will have different meanings. So masks have a history. So we have heard a lot about masks in the past several months. So we've heard about their effectiveness, which one to wear, mask mandates have polarized communities and politicians. So that, there's also a lot of politics behind it. But masks are also bearer of memories, and they are memories of disease, memories of the pandemic itself. So they carry stories, and also memory of our bodies. And I'll let her explain what this all means. But I really like this project because it really puts together both our body memory and our memory as something emotional and as something affective, and as something that we will remember in the future, and really a mark regarding the pandemic. So it's actually an excellent way to conclude our series. So thanks, Karolina. I'll give it to you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Roberta, for this amazing introduction, and thank you to all of you, organizers, for having me today. And a lot of things has been said already by Roberta, but I decided to use this occasion today to actually tell a story, my own story, the story which is related with the project, but also I will locate this project in my general experience from the pandemic period. First question is if you hear me properly and you can see me properly. I think I will try to share my screen right now because I have a presentation. Here we are. Okay, can you see the screen right now correctly? Okay, great. So the title of the project is Signs of the Times, Collecting Biological Traces and Memories. And actually, I started doing the project in spring 2020. 2021. It's really hard because right now, for me, these waves of pandemic, they are really mixed, and it's hard to remember precise dates of certain events. But I will start from this experience of mine when the pandemic started, and I spent the first wave of the pandemic in Warsaw. But what was really important for the first wave was this very intense online contact with people, and probably all of us experienced that all of a sudden we got forced to run classes online or to participate in lectures online. So besides that, I participated in many meetings which were quite spontaneous and which were created to support each other and to be together in this very peculiar time. And I remember the series which was like with working title Viral Culture, Bioart and Society, and at least Roberta for sure remember also this series. And it was something like that, very spontaneous, initiated by Claire Negleton. She's academic curator at Pomona College. And we started to meet every Saturday talking about not only about our emotions, about our problems, but at some moment we started to talk about creativity, about the role of creativity, about how we supposed to create art in the time of such a great crisis. And it was not only my feeling, I heard from people during these meetings the same thing, that we got frozen when the pandemic started because of many things, because of being in fear, because of dealing with totally different reality. And also from artists, it was complicated because majority of exhibitions, festivals, everything was either postponed or just moved to online. So it was hard to imagine how we will live in such a situation. And this situation of being frozen lasted for a couple of months, at least for me. And I've been struggling because my fear was that it's like my creativity is dead. I'm not able to get back to creating art because I am so overwhelmed and so tired I'm emotionally tired of everything what is happened around me. So I was ready to think about something like building an artistic narration on the pandemic in spring 2021. And at the beginning, it was like I was thinking that maybe this is stupid to do something dedicated to masks. It's too trivial. It's like everybody knows masks, and it's obvious that they are going to be a symbol of this time. But then the first observation putting me in the position of being more encouraged to do something about masks was the observation of masks being everywhere and being trash. And I was also interested in how many masks, how much this kind of trash is around the world. And if we take it even into consideration, what is the role of this mask when we are wearing them and then after wearing them. So I realized that mask as itself is not only this mask which we are wearing to protect ourselves, because mask is like, let's say, it has a lot of symbolic meanings as well. So I decided firstly to pick up masks from the streets. I was walking in the park and trying to find masks in different shapes, in different colors. But it was also my personal journey because I don't know why, but I felt ashamed that I am doing that. Ashamed in the sense that, oh no, someone will think that I am crazy or something. I am just collecting masks which are trashy, which are dirty. So I was like trying my best to avoid crowded streets and crowded places just to feel better with this activity. But on the other side, I thought about masks, this masks collected from the street, as an example of objects, and objectuality and object is kind of inherited in my practice in general. So I started to think, okay, this is maybe truly disgusting, because I can't know who was the owner of the mask. If the person was sick because of the COVID-19 virus, or maybe sick because of some other sicknesses. So my imagination was working all the time. Of course, I protected myself wearing gloves, and I was like putting immediately the mask to the plastic bag with this zipper to protect them and protect myself. And additionally, I heard from a radio that there was an announcement that, please be careful when you are throwing away your mask. Put the mask into a plastic bag, because these people taking care of the street, cleaning the street, they can be exposed to the contact with the virus, which is possibly embedded on the mask. Of course, we knew at some moment that the virus is able to survive on the surface only for a couple of hours, if I could remember. So it was, again, this calculating, okay, maybe this mask, which was like just collected, was there for a couple of days, or maybe the person, the owner of the mask, just dropped it 10 minutes ago. So chances are the virus is still there. So I'm trying to move forward, but I don't know why I can't change the slide. I will try to. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. So this is the very basic first collection. As you can see, I was not scared of picking up even very dirty stuff. So the first collection was like more than 30 samples. And then with time, I was increasingly more interested in the story which is behind the mask. I mean, the story of the mask carrier. And it was not enough for me to imagine who possibly was the person behind the mask. I wanted to work with real people, and I wanted to collect their masks. And I wanted to collect also their stories, their memories from this really crazy time of the pandemic. And meanwhile, I also discovered that I can divide different kinds of masks, of course, because yes, at some moment it was allowed to wear textile masks. So pretty rarely, but sometimes I was able to find also a textile mask being dropped. But mostly they were like medical masks and FFP masks. Actually in Germany, at least in Berlin, for the majority of the time of the pandemic, the only possible kind of masks which were allowed, it was like FFP masks. And for the reason of my like creative journey, I was also focused on the visuality of the process, because from my perspective, the process is always is never-ending story, and it's also important to take care about details on every stage of the process, right? So as you can see, I bought laboratory tubes. I used to work in laboratory before on many of my previous projects, so I knew how to buy it, where to buy it, etc. And I realized that I really like how these medical masks look like in these tubes, and that they are the only kind which is easy to just squeeze and to locate in the glass. So as you could see, the way of storing these FFP masks were quite different than in case of these medical masks. And then I also decided to keep these blue masks for the further parts of my project, because yeah, I really liked how they work together. Now I am moving to the stage of the project when I was meeting real people. As Roberta said before, I used to organize events which are in person, because that was important also from emotional point of view after so long time of confinement, to invite people to talk to me in person, to give them a chance and also a safe space to share their experiences and memories. So here you can see my regular stuff, which is like utensils for mask collecting. And as you can see, I also, in this set of utensils, I thought a lot about which color I will use and how it will work on the table. And the first trial of this performative event with collecting masks took place in August 2021 in Berlin, in a space which is like dedicated to different cultural events and not only to exhibitions. And my event was a part of a bigger festival. Mostly the festival was dedicated to music, what was like influencing the amount of people participating my performative situation. But during this rehearsal, I got several visitors, not much, but I learned how to organize that. And first of all, I learned that my previous thought that asking people to talk to the camera, this is obvious, this is trivial, everybody would be able to do that really easily. After 2 years of talking to the laptop screen and to the computer camera, what is the problem in talking to the camera, which is located in a room? But it was not so easy for people to be focused and to have this experience of talking directly to the camera. There are people, of course, being really like extrovertic and, you know, being comfy in sharing everything publicly, but there are also people being shy and introvertic. So I realized that I need to also incorporate this in my project. I need to be careful about the way how I am talking to people, the way how I am organizing the situation. And actually, during this rehearsal, I learned also that it's important to have eyes contact why the person is talking, because then the uncomfortable situation of talking to the camera is a little bit less complicated, because it's like talking to me. The idea of these events is that I decided to give to every participant a fresh medical mask. So the person is like sitting in front of the camera, taking the fresh mask on, and then we have this recording. And of course, while the person is talking, it's breathing, it's talking, the body secretions are going out, and they are embedded on the mask space. Or even like this is like the mask is also soaking humidity if someone talks for longer. So then if the talk is over, the person is asked to give me the mask back, and I put the mask into laboratory tube, the same as you said before, as you saw before. So that was the first event, and the second one took place in Poland, in a gallery which is my almost like home gallery. I really like collaborating with them. It's Łaźnia Gallery in Gdańsk, and it was November 2021. And also, as I said about the rehearsal and me learning how to set up the situation, it was happening all the time. I was observing new things. Every meeting was different because of the place, because of the way how the institution is working. So in case of this gallery, we decided to dedicate to the event 2 days. The first day was Sunday, the second day was Monday. And Monday was risky because majority of galleries used to be closed on Monday. So someone willing to participate would need to come exactly to participate. So on Sunday, it was much easier because there was an exhibition available at the same time in the gallery. So I was able to just invite people visiting the exhibition to talk to me, to participate in the project. And as you can see, even my outfit got improved because yes, I learned also that this is important for the atmosphere. So I bought this black uniform. This is a laboratory uniform, but not so usual because it's in black. And I used to do it for every performance which I am running. I used to have like a one uniform for each performance. And this situation was more stirred because I had people helping me so it was a person behind the camera, and it was also a photographer doing documentation. So I could be really dedicated to people talking to me, and to really to take care of the atmosphere of the meeting. Here you can see how it looked like in general, and it came to my mind when I was preparing the presentation that actually it's quite similar to the Abramovich artist is present performance, in that sense that I am sitting in front of the visitor. But of course, the goal was a bit different. Although, especially in Poland, I happened to meet people sharing really personal and touching stories. So it was even a little bit confusing. What should I do with this knowledge? How should I react for this story which was just said? So what I decided to do was always like starting the conversation before the recording. just to get some trust and to show to people that I am really for them here, and I have attention. So whatever they are going to say, and it doesn't matter how long will be the talk, I will be patient. I will be happy to listen to that. And after the recording, it was always also short conversation about the content which was recorded, and also about everything what was coming to the mind of the person after these experiences. That was also the source of knowledge about improving the way of organizing the next meeting, because people were sharing, okay, I was super comfy with this and that, but I would prefer, for instance, to talk to you without camera. Would it be possible to talk only to the voice recorder, for instance? So I had to process and transform my previous attitude, to adjust my project to these people, to these living beings, being in the core of these situations. And again, visual improvement in that sense that I started to sew these like belts for tubes, just to have some nice setup for the future events. The interesting thing is that, of course, collecting masks with the intention of analyzing them in the future in the laboratory made me thinking about how to protect everything what is embedded on those masks, because of course with time those organisms being there, possibly they were not able to survive for such a long time. So it was like about protecting their DNA, in the sense that even if the organism is dead, we still can find remains, and we can do sequencing, and we can recognize the organism. So it was also important, as you can see, to take care at the same time about human actors of this situation and non-human actors as well. But I had to also accept the fact that these samples are somehow contaminated by the environment anyway, because I was not able to provide to myself the sterility condition in every possible place. So even though I was using sanitizer before I got the mask from the person, it's still possible that something was coming from the air and it was embedded on the mask as well. So from the biological point of view, they are kind of contaminated by the reality, let's say. They are not clear in that sense that they are not, this is not only collecting non-human beings coming from the body, it's also uncontrollable collecting of everything what is in the environment. And of course, this collecting is not maybe anonymous, but I ask people only for the first name, as far as they are not so eager to share the surname, because if someone is an artist and is like important person, it's sometimes asking me or giving me the surname. It's fine as well. It's the decision of the person participating. And at some moment also I decided that I am not presenting all the storage each time, because it wouldn't be reasonable. I mean, when it comes to the quality of the storage, like just changing the temperature of these samples all the time. So like keeping them in the freezer, but then getting them off because I am going somewhere to organize the next collecting event. So yes, this is the next decision which appeared on my way. I love this picture. That was the next collecting event, and as you can see, the setup is different as well. It's adjusted to the space. That was TOP. This is transdisciplinary project space in Berlin as well. It happened in December 2021. And that was also a difficult moment for organizing because the number of cases in Berlin got higher. So I was sure that whoever is coming is like really coming intentionally because people were scared to go out at that moment. And it was also a couple of people, not much. But I also learned that I shouldn't be sad about that I have like a small number of visitors, because I like this intimacy and I like this atmosphere when they are able to open up. So it's not a kind of event when I should expect like the number of people which are usually visiting an opening of an exhibition or something. So it's like the process is going really, really slowly. I accept that, although if we would think about the dynamic of contemporary art, the contemporary art, which is a part of capitalism, and when we are producing fast and we need to provide something to get money, and then we need to provide something to report to the grant or a scholarship. This is really hard dynamic from my perspective. I used to work slowly. I used to work for a long term. This is, I mean, this is giving me a chance to really run the process and to learn on the way, and also to observe many different things. Because also, I didn't mention that, but I used to run haute ethnography whenever I am realizing a project. And this is also a material for the further processing and writing texts. So that's why I was saying at the beginning that this is a storytelling, it's my story, and this is also, yeah, this is processual experience. This is the same space, and the last situation in person which I had with this project was a long-term situation, I would say, because I got a chance to spend some time in Art Laboratory Berlin, thanks of Regina Rapp and Christian Delutz, which are owners of the space, and they gave me a chance to spend a couple of weeks in the gallery, to use it as my studio, but also to use this time and this space for collecting masks. And as you can see, this is again different kind of organizing. In TOP, I forgot to mention, it was just one day. It was me being present in the gallery for a couple of hours and then waiting for visitors. And in Art Laboratory Berlin, it was totally different context, not only temporal context, but also I really used the space in the sense that it was not only waiting and being bored, waiting for people coming, because technically I was available in the gallery all the time whenever someone feels it's a good moment, or someone I mean, it was thought as a way of giving people more flexibility so they can navigate with their time, their schedules much easier. And during being there, I was also working on my PhD. On something, I was also doing objects which were not connected to the project. I started to create like a series which is titled Unassociated Objects. So I was not there suffering that, I don't know, there was a day when nobody was coming. That was really contemplative, and it gave me also a chance to watch the previous recordings, to think about how I'm going to process the project in the future. I got again a couple of visitors, not much. It was interesting that even being there for a couple of weeks, I was not getting much more people participating than when I had an event which was like for dedicated for a couple of hours. But this staying in Art Laboratory Berlin encouraged me also to incorporate in the project what we have today, and I hope we will have tomorrow. So talking to people online, because my first idea was like, I don't know why, that I need to have a meeting in person, and I need to have memory recording and also a mask sample. And then I realized that maybe it's not so necessary to have the same number of mask samples and the same number of recordings. So maybe I can be more flexible. So I gave people a chance to contact me being in a totally different spot of the world. And that's why I got more recordings than I would probably be able without this solution. And of course, still I have more masks than recordings, because sometimes there are people being eager to give me their mask, but without the recording. Sometimes it's also the situation of doing only audio recording and collecting masks. So I became very flexible in terms of collecting these materials. But I think it's fine. It's like me learning a process, and also it's a way of getting more materials. Oh, here is Regina Rapp. So also thanks of her, I decided to change a little bit the formula of talking to people, because at the beginning I was just asking the general question. Please tell me, what do you think you will remember from the period of the time of the pandemic in the future? So I was giving them time, I was giving them space, and the floor was there. I was not interrupting, I was not asking additional questions. But then, when I was talking to Regina, we had like 3 hours conversation, and we ended up with the conclusion that it's better to have a dynamic conversation. So I am also commenting, I am also asking questions. So again, I opened myself to a situation when someone feels more comfy when I am asking questions, and this is more like a regular interview. So if someone is more shy, it works much better if I am supporting someone with my comments, my questions. So this kind of recordings also started to appear in my collection. And I will say a few words about the future plans, because as I said, this is like long-term journey, and the next step, although I am not done with this collecting, of course, but maybe a little bit simultaneously, I will start checking what I have in terms of mask samples in the laboratory. Maybe this summer I will go to Warsaw to the laboratory which I used to collaborate with. I'm in the Institute of Genetics and Biotechnology of University of Warsaw, just to try to cultivate maybe some bacteria cultures, maybe yeast cultures, and to do sequencing and in terms of checking what possibly is there on the samples. And very recently, I also, I think I found my way of maybe not presenting the project in the gallery. Of course, it can happen in a gallery, but I think about it also as a processual situation. And in my imagination, I would like to spend some time in the gallery or another art space and be busy with saving these memories and like maybe catching time at some point. So let's imagine a situation that we have many screens, touchpads for writing, and I am like this ancient writer, and I am writing down that the story of a person, and I am moving to another screen to write a story of another person, and the previous story is disappearing, so I need to get back to write the story again. And this is something which what is my idea of the next step of experiencing the project. And probably I would also ask the visitors to help me. Maybe they could also write the stories down on these screens, which are like with a disappearing text. Yes, I think this is everything at this moment, and I will use the occasion also to warmly invite you all for tomorrow. I will be available for you from 2 p.m. Until 4 p.m. if I will have enough visitors to have 2 hours of conversations. And of course, I will be extremely happy talking to you. We also, I was talking to Roberta about that chance of collecting masks. So probably the best idea would be that each of you coming to the screen would just take the mask, fresh mask on, and similarly to these people in previous participating in the previous events, you are talking and then taking the mask off when you are finished. And I will ask organizers to store the samples for me, and possibly I would be really happy to come in the future to analyze these samples from this situation in Canada. Okay, thank you very much, and I am open for your questions, comment, reflections, whatever is coming to your mind. I think that even people watching us on YouTube are allowed to comment, or I'm wrong.
Yes, they are. if they want to. Of course.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. I have so many questions, and of course I had a lot of curiosity before, and also a lot of curiosity right now, because we are going to do this here in Toronto. So I'm wondering, so of all the responses that you got from people, did they reflect on the many roles of the masks? Did they talk about their own personal experience? What kind of discourses came out? What is like? Did you find that people were keen to disclose their own feelings, or do you think that they would just keep it more philosophical and say, "Oh, okay, so this is an excuse to just think about masks as a symbol"? So what kind of experience you got?
This is very diverse, really diverse. And it was also, it depends on the way how I was running the conversation, because when it was just giving the basic question and waiting for people just freely talking, sometimes it was just reflecting on the pandemic, in that sense that it was not emotional. It was just saying, oh, when the pandemic started, I was here and there, and then yeah, I was overwhelmed because it was being in confinement, or I was in different country and it was hard to travel back. So it was like more technical, recalling what was happening at that time. But what is interesting, it was always starting from the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know why, because I was not pointing that okay, you need to reconstruct what you experienced during the first wave of the pandemic, or during the first month of the pandemic. So it was like, why people get back to the beginning, totally like omitting the second wave, the third wave, the fourth wave. It was rather being focused on this moment of starting. And then I realized that the reason for that can be that the first hit was the strongest one, and it was the first moment of facing the situation. So maybe it's also the strongest memory, because I was also talking to people in that sense, like, okay, but what was then? How you would compare the first wave, the second wave, the third wave? And I realized that really people struggle with saying precisely what happened in the second wave, the third wave. It was like, you know, everything was flattened. It was like one period without any divisions. So it was really meaningful that everybody tried to reconstruct the pandemic, was rather saying about the first wave. And as I said about the event in Poland, I got young people, I think young students, maybe even not students. I didn't ask about the age, but one girl was sharing really tough experiences, like psychical condition from that time, and she said about being hopeless, because the situation with psychiatric care and psychological care in Poland is totally in destruction. So she was really deeply sad and devastated, and she ended her talk with this with stressing the lack of any hope. So I was like, the room was silent, like everybody who was there, and myself as well. I was like, okay, I need a second to take a breath, and I need to figure out what should I say after something like that. That's why I said that it's also so important to keep talking even after the recording, so to process what just happened. And in terms of masks, especially in this period when I was running more structured interviews, this topic of masks was more present, let's say. And it was talking about physical experiences. What do you feel wearing mask for instance, couple of hours? Is it comfy for you or not? And then it was really automatic to go toward thinking about masks, not only as a protection, but also about cover of your identity. It was about these people being introverted. They were saying usually, you know, I feel more comfy right now. I can go easily out and nobody is recognizing me. Nobody is asking me for anything. And it was even like having preparation if the mask should be white or black. There was a person saying, you know, I feel more invisible and more comfy when I wear a black mask. So was the like going into really individual experiences. And if it was talking to someone being, for instance, from humanities area or art area, of course, we were going also toward the symbolic meaning of masks. So what we are covering actually when we are wearing them. We were also talking about the imagination of the future when we will be always wearing masks. It won't be over. How we should improve the design, maybe we should see our faces and have a protection anyway, like transparent protection. So it was usually also thinking like collective, collaborative thinking. Okay, so what we should do with this item to make it more comfy, to make it more also adjusted to social life. And on the other side, it's also discussing about how the social life has changed because of the sanitary restrictions in general, but especially about masks. And for instance, there was a situation in Denmark, and also I heard the story. Denmark was like, before the pandemic started, it was like 1-2 weeks before, they put a restriction that nobody is allowed to cover their faces. And then the pandemic hit and they had to change the restrictions so drastically that people were really like, what is going on? A couple of days you actually announced something totally opposite. So it was also amazing for me to talk to people. As Berlin is a perfect spot for that, because here there are people from around the world. So even not going anywhere, I was able to talk to people coming from different parts of the world. And yeah, there was often also talking about being stuck somewhere. And being not able to get back. I talked to a person being stuck in Australia because Australia at some moment closed borders. So it was nothing to be done in order to get back to Europe. So I would say that I have like different categories. They are emotional stories, they are reconstructions of the period of the time, like historically what was happening in terms of politics in central countries, what was about these restrictions. And they were also these very specific stories related to the part of the world where the person experienced the pandemic. So I don't think I will categorize them for the reason of like presentation, which I mentioned, like, you know, using the stories just to try to capture them and to keep them and to fight with time passing. But yes, I am writing also articles because I am academic researcher as well. So for sure, and for the academic reason, I can imagine that I could analyze it much more and to capture these common points in almost every story, let's say.
I just want to say, Lisa, I saw you had a question. I don't know if you're still interested in asking, but I saw your hand.
I don't know where she had. Yeah, she had her hand up.
Yes.
I don't know.
If you don't want to
is.
speak, you can put it in the chat.
No, she is.
she's
I did. It's
here.
just I was just in a very different place there. So now I'm in a different place. I wanted to make sure you didn't have noise when I spoke. Hello, sorry, I'm walking because we need to go for walks in a pandemic. No, there were just a couple of things that I enjoyed in terms of the mask. At first, such an obvious moment, like such an obvious image of the pandemic, and yet, of course, it opens up. I really enjoy it as a mode of narration, of storytelling, because it really does. Even if the second wave or the second, third, how many have there been, waves seem to flatten, it really does sort of mark the different waves in terms of politicization and depoliticization. Like the first, I remember begging, you know, like, please, can we mask? And then, of course, it became depoliticized. It was just routinized. And then, of course, now again, it's please, can we mask? And so it narrates the different waves in that sense, but also the culture making around it. You alluded to it with Denmark. Same thing in Quebec in Canada. You know, covering your face is by law. Is by law prohibited because of Islamophobic laws. And then it becomes a playful way to subvert that, because which kinds of face coverings are allowed and are not allowed. But the first thing that I thought of when you were talking about picking them up off the street was a very early video that was, I think, also encouraging people to mask in the days of like, please, can we mask? And it was this very playful video made, I think, in Amsterdam, of this like guy in his 20s, you know, like who's like, he thinks he's pretty hot, and he's just standing on the street and he's using his mask as a G-string. So it's like also makes me think about culture making, but also about like, what were you picking up when you picked those up? And then that made me think about what were you were also picking up people's DNA. And so how do people feel about giving you their mask? Maybe I'm showing my science illiteracy here.
No. It's a great question, because I didn't mention that I am not interested in human DNA in examining masks. So I am just interested to recognize non-human beings being possible there, because we are many, right? We are not like one body. We are having like microbiome, which is really rich. So saying poetically, let's say, it's like I think that they are also storytellers, because when people are saying something, this is also they are coming out, and this is participating in this story creation. So yeah, I am not going to investigate human DNA. I am not interested in identifying these people. No, this is not the case, because I am talking to people, and I am interested in people and talking to people. So this is the human part of the idea, and masks are dedicated to non-human participants of the crisis.
And then just the last thing I wanted to say was I also think that our relationship to masks is profoundly, well, obviously racialized and also gendered, but also classed, because my mom, who somehow, who still remembers World War II, picks
Yeah.
up masks and washes them and reuses
Yeah.
them, right? So they're
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is like a very rich area in terms of like thinking not only, as I said, about masks, which are obvious for the pandemic time, but of mask. Why in certain religions, for instance, this form of masking, or we should. So yeah, I think this is also researched, and I do it. I read articles. I try to follow what is appearing in terms of improving mask production. And right now, this is a really peculiar moment here in Central Europe, because in Poland, where in my original country, masks are not mandatory anymore. And whenever, like, even my friends, Polish friends living also in Berlin, when we are going to Poland, this is like experience like different world, because in Berlin it's still wearing FFP masks in public transportation. So this is crazy. Why? It's like two neighbor countries and the same area geographically, and in one country we have like, no, but the virus is over, and in the country being so close, this is still being restrictive and careful about that. So, and also I will mention something really interesting, because when I was asking my in my interviews how people feel in places where they allowed to get the mask off, and it was repeated a couple of times that they felt naked, they felt unprotected, but not in that sense that they are unprotected because of the virus. It was the really strange feeling that how come we are allowed to breathe freely? Is it credible? Should there is like, okay, or someone will come and will also tell us that yeah, you need to wear masks. So this is, I mean, the social behavior, which is I would say that this is created by so many months of wearing masks. This is really special, and the moment of not wearing masks and being allowed to not wear a mask, this is very strange, because people, part of the society, even in Poland, is still eager to cover their faces. It's against the general rules, but they feel more, they feel safer simply. So yeah, I'm still observing that, and whenever I am having this collecting event, this is a little bit different situation and different moment in terms of restrictions. So I am really curious what I will hear, for instance, tomorrow from people from Canada, because I know that Omicron is still very active in Canada, let's say. So probably the memory will be also like something taken from the past, from the first months, because we can't say that the pandemic is only our memory. This is still going on, and personally, I don't believe that this is over. Even here, when some European countries, some of European countries are so optimistic about that. So
Yes,
we will
absolutely.
see. I have time. As I said, I don't have any grant for that so far. So I am not limited by deadlines, by some I don't know, reports to be done. So this is my process, and I hope to collect as much as possible in terms of knowledge, in terms of experiences, and in terms of materials, let's say, matter to be used in the second stage, let's say, of the presenting of the project, or its, let's say, gallery life.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for one thing that is quite special about your project, I think, Karolina, is sometimes kind of the most simple premises really allow for a kind of flourishing of a number of different threads that are emerging. To me, what stands out of this project is this interanimation between different dimensions of narrative, and I would just say sort of forms of semiosis, forms of what means, what kind of what produces meaning, and not just memory, but ongoing possibilities for refiguring, yes, indeed, our social, our expanded life. One thing that the pandemic has done, and all of the comments that a number of people have made, and both inside your project and today on in our conversation, has been kind of this heightened awareness that we are more than, we don't stop at our skin, right? We are constantly breathing in and out. The masks also produce this heightened awareness of the fact that we are constantly shedding traces of ourselves. And as such, there's our borders are never borders. And I kind of like the way in which you you're also disassembling or going against the grain of strictly scientific, discrete, atomized ideas of how you go about collecting samples that have to be sterilized, etc. And you're still using the tools, and yet showing indeed how maybe beside the point is to produce sterility. Indeed, if anything, we are in another place. And I think actually for your extended project, I would do an extended reflection also on that part of that question of shame when collecting the abject, the trashed mask. What does that speak to in relation to our culture and our culture's kind of desire for to sanitize everything and everyone? There's a couple of connections that I would like to make also to previous roundtables and to the project itself. To me, three keywords came to mind when I was listening to. One was listening to the way the project evolved. One is the idea of ritual. There's something of your project has offered or continues to offer a ritual space for people to reflect on themselves and reflect on their relation to indeed a garment that has become so necessary and yet also so politicized and so much else. And one thing that came out from our conversations during the speaker series has been how hard, kind of in the wake of sort of in neoliberal times, we've become illiterate at dealing with death, dealing with grief, dealing with loss at large. And what seems to be happening through this kind of intimate and yet socialized opportunity that you're giving to collect these traces, to offer these traces, to write these traces, is possibly a ritual for engaging with grief, engaging with the difficulties of. So it's a living archive, not a monumentalized archive. I have to say, at the beginning, I was a little bit concerned, like, are we trying to monumentalize it, but what will be remembered? I'm not sure, like there's something else here. Then the other thing that came to mind was the question of data. And it's something that also came out at the very beginning of our speaker series. We had Salvatore Iaconesi and Oriana Persico, two data artists active in Italy, who engaged in another project of ritual intimacy through the pandemic. They called it a data meditation that was about sort of the way in which we over internet we kind of leave so many kind of traces of ourselves, but yet a way to produce kind of a commons of data through meditation. And the way they had conceived of their artistic project was to couple people over a span of a week, that they would connect and meditate together and listen to each other's translated little stories, translated little entries, and producing other stories. And to me, what you're doing seems to producing a kind of a similar assemblage of kind of linguistic stories, social human data and non-human data, but I think your greatest challenge will be to how really show that interanimation, sort of how to animate those masks and that the bacteria, that culture. What kind of script are they offering in relation to your own transcription of the stories? I'm also wondering if you're open to change the languages, let people talk in their own languages.
Yeah, I have recordings, one in Italian, because the person said that, okay, if I am going to tell about something which is not nice from my perspective, I feel more comfy. And those recordings in Poland was also conducted in Polish. So I am never closed whenever someone is saying that. It was the same in Germany. If someone was saying, look, I am able to speak English, but if you are asking me about myself, about my memories, I feel more comfy talking in my mother tongue. And yes, this is really interesting, because then if I would really work on like reconstructing, trying to write the story, rewrite the story, how to do it like phonetically, because I don't speak
but you also
Italian.
but you also don't need to be married to meaning. Like maybe someone will understand it and other people will not. That's
the
beauty of it, like the
you are
murmuring of
totally
things.
right. Yeah. If I may, I would just say that your diagnosis, Elena, is perfect, because first of all, even in my PhD thesis, which I fortunately finished writing, I write a lot about rituals. I called myself with the name of liminal being, and the theory of trigeminal structure of ritual by Van Gennep or Turner. They are also really important for my art and science practice, art and research practice. So definitely, and it's not only the matter of this project. For me, this pretty like even sacral maybe, but this is sacral without a religion, I would say. It's not my point to recall some precisely religious celebrations, but this is important to create an atmosphere which is giving this feeling that this is something special, that is special in the sense that I am not doing this situation every day, and this is for me what art used to do. So I am building a context because we could talk the same things staying in the street, or I don't know, being in a different very usual spot. But that's why I'm so careful about these details, about these colors, about these shapes, about this organizing of the table, because I am really careful about the atmosphere. I'm really careful about people having a certain experience. So this is really important. And the idea of living archive, yes, I think this is also a great name for the situation, because this is really short notion, but very descriptive in terms of what is the idea behind. Definitely, this is, as I said, this is a living process, and this is about my life, about life of people coming to participate, and about this non-human living beings being around us and being also in our bodies and coming out thanks of, this is also symbolic operation, because of course we are breathing and we are exchanging these materials, biomaterials all the time. But again, yeah, this is the context. This is building the story in the sense that I am a like director of the theater, let's say, and people are coming to play a role, and it does, as I said also, and I think it's important to point out that again that they are not thought as element to be used for my idea. At least I am doing my best to give everybody this feeling that everybody is equally important, and they are all actors of the same theater. Maybe I am a creator, but I am also an actor. It's not the point that I am super power in this situation and I'm controlling everything. No, the situation is controlling myself. And this, I have evidence in the form of this improvement of everything what is happening in the project. So yeah, great. I thought
I have one last very personal question. Are you still open to accepting donations of masks, cloth masks that are personal masks at all, or are you just keen on using new masks for like the new people that?
I think nobody asked me before about something like that. I would be really happy having this textile mask being soaked with creations, because the idea of giving them a fresh mask is also the part of the celebration, because this is like the exchange, the person is getting of the usual mask, taking something fresh, and all these masks are the same. But I wouldn't say that this is something what is not acceptable, because I am stuck with the concept. I am flexible, I am changing all the time, and I think that that would be great, because it's probably even easier to analyze in the laboratory mask like that.
Yeah. You know, I'm just thinking, because we were talking at the beginning of how people were really the very first mask. And I remember, I do have that mask, the very first mask that I had a friend make for me. Roberta was making masks. And had that little moment
Still do.
also of an economy, right? The economy of exchange, because people were actually taking it in their own hands without
Yeah.
waiting for governments. And it was not a particularly efficient mask, so I stopped wearing it fairly quickly. But it's there, and at this point we've all collected.
Yeah, but what is also really, really interesting in terms of observing how it has changed, because when textile masks were allowed, I remember the moment when, at least in Berlin, every design boutique was like selling masks.
Oh,
in
here
different
in Toronto,
colors.
there's a major exhibition happening at the ROM, at the Royal Ontario Museum, on textile masks. It's become a kind of a fashion accessory. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was like interesting because it looked like it's like giving us the second individuality, personality, because it was okay, I can't show my face, which is like really the element of recognizing me, but I can have something which is typical for me, what is like I don't know, adjusted to my outfit, and then it was the moment of the regulation about wearing medical mask or FFP masks, and again everybody had to wear the same. But then I realized that okay, FFP, we can cover the FFP mask with something like external, or at least we can produce these masks in different colors. So very recently, I saw really crazy colors of those masks. So yeah, in terms of dealing with being recognizable or not, and about being very individual, which is really important in neoliberal reality, as you said, Elena. So yeah, how it influences this capitalistic production reality.
Yeah, and like regarding the I had this I don't know, like for like at the beginning when medical officers started saying that the like here these kind of masks are called N95, but they kept saying, oh, the N95 masks are much better than the cloth masks. I kind of became a little bit defensive because I felt like masks had become part of my identity. So I think that collecting masks is also like collecting a bit of like the not just the narrative about the pandemic and what's inside the mask, but also like the narrative about the persona itself. So you take a piece of this person if this person is giving you a textile mask, and it's kind of interesting that you say, oh yeah, and then now we have the government mandated masks that we are using, and I know that in Europe they are very strict about it. You must wear those masks, as opposed to here. I'm still wearing the cloth masks anyway. But and I see that there's already people saying, oh, let's cover these masks. Let's make pictures, let's color them, because I think at a certain point when you keep wearing them, they become part of your identity. And early on you were saying that they are protective, but they are also like, they do not just protect you physically, but they also protect your integrity as a person, right? So it's very interesting to see this.
I think there's Dolores who raised her hand.
Oh, Dolores wants to say something. Yeah, Dolores.
Yeah. I was also thinking of the hypocrisy of it all, in a way, because remember Roberta made the first mask for David because he needed to come and couldn't travel without a mask, and there were no super duper extra safe ones at that time available. But, and yes, like the woman that you mentioned, or person, that you mentioned, I don't remember if it was a woman or not, that said, "Why choose the color? I make myself invisible if I." And I was thinking, coming back to Canada about 3 weeks ago at the airport, when checking in the suitcases, the agent said, "You need a FFP2 mask. Do you have them?" And I said, "No," because we had the Portuguese ones that Marta sent to us that are safe up to 50 times, whatever, and they're so we felt more protected. Obviously, just because it was in our heads that those were more protective than the FFP2. However, she wrote on our boarding passes, FFP2, exclamation mark. So we went through the first check and we went to gazillions of places that were open, all of them selling these FFP2 masks at twice the price that was
Of course.
So, not knowing what it's all about, we bought the masks, and with them in, okay, I'm gesticulating. So with them in hand like this, we get to the gate, and the woman says, looks at the thing on the boarding pass and says, "Oh, do you have the FFP2 masks?" And I show them in the plastic envelopes, and she says, "Oh, okay." So it's going through the motions, and on one hand, and on the other hand is the idea that we have so many of these. They're not mandated anymore, so we need to get rid of them somehow. So how can we be smart enough and somehow
to make a profit out of them?
Yeah. Okay, where am I to? And Karolina, I told you, if I could have, I would have loved to do one of those interviews with you. That would have been brilliant. And I was thinking what could have been the way out. Anyway, thank you. And thank you to wonderful hostess.
Thank you, Doris.
Wonderful support team. You,
Yes.
Tina? Yeah. And Tom, right? Yeah. And the ghost, the reptilian ghost.
You're not a reptilian ghost. You're very fancy, like as usual. You're very like.
This is another kind of masking ourselves. This is another topic, but Zoom allowed us to change a lot our appearance.
Yeah, and you remember during those viral meetings how we could use, and I think Pat Olinik had some masks, and then Marta had masks or whatever hair things, and Regina also. So yeah, people were playing on this, and I have a box of masks, homemade, that I got as a gift for my birthday, because one of my friends was making them and giving them to friends, like Roberta was doing. At some point, there were too many, and I thought I'm gonna somehow use them, but I haven't figured out how. And they're all different from another, right? And my first mask, my first cloth mask, I embroidered with. I think I sent you the picture with my interpretation of the virus, and I have 3 nice viruses. So we all played with them in the way and tried to make them our own.
Karolina,
not thinking at what you thought, that they'd actually carry our DNA and probably our viruses.
Yes, they of course they carry our DNA, but it's just my examination decision that
Well,
first of all, it wouldn't be fair to not ask people for something like that, because this is
I'm thinking it's
bioethically
part of us. right, as Elena was saying, you shed your somebody can come and get my
Yeah.
pillow. I've been sweating like a
We are
Yeah.
porous bodies. We're porous bodies like that.
Yeah.
That's the heightened awareness that came out of here. But Karolina, you must be noticing that we are actually beginning to give you material for your project. So this,
Of course,
this is
I actually
this is very much
expected that. That's why I am going to watch the recording on YouTube and transcribe this part.
Perfect, perfect. But yeah, I would like. So I don't want to keep you for more because for you it's getting really tight, really
Perfectly
late.
fine.
I also had to go and pick up an artist at the second cup because she was kicked out of the library, so I had to take her to a new hotel. But I just want to ensure those people who will come tomorrow and also those people who will intervene online that it's like we're gonna have like just a dialogue and like you will take people in. We have this nice room at the library and people can come in and share with you. Of course, you will be online, but yeah. And then
So
we
just-
collect the masks if you want to give them to us. Otherwise, Simbo.
So yes, just
If
a
someone is
reminder.
not eager. Sorry. Sorry
Just
for
a reminder for
interrupting.
just a reminder for people watching. There is a kind of strange in-person / virtual component to this tomorrow between 2 and 4 p.m. at the Ivy Library in New College. People are invited to come with or without their own masks. And to have a virtual encounter with Karolina, who will be online, but then they will be invited to give your own mask to the operators who will be in the room, waiting with their gloves to take the mask. So I just wanted to,
This is my very first time when I am delegating the task to someone. so it's
We will be
the next
efficient.
edition, and yes,
My
I
cat
trust you
thanks.
fully.
Your cat, yeah. Okay. So I think we should go. So I'll see you tomorrow at 2 for us, and for you it's gonna be like
8 p.m. for
8
me.
p.m. for you.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a reasonable time. All right. So I'll see
Yes.
you all tomorrow. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Tita and thank you for Tom. I don't know
Yes,
if you
thank you
wanted
for
to say
all of
anything.
you.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye
Bye.
everybody. Bye.